Well, like I like this. Like I'm not saying I'm as crisp as I used to be, but like when I can't beat Mario 1-1,
right?
There's something wrong.
There's
right?
yeah, okay. There's something. That's like, look, hand in your video game card.
Eat.
You're done. Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
And Mike, I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up to our episode about contract work. I guess some ideas or maybe some things to make employment better and the problems as it stands with employment right now. Let's start here. In the world as it is right now, what are some issues that you see when it comes to the state of just standard employment? And like I'm not talking about particular industries or anything like that. Let's just look at standard employment. What are some issues that exist right now that could certainly be a problem or continue to be a problem if they're not changed?
Okay, I need to get on a soapbox.
Okay,
so let's begin. CEOs get paid way more than the average employee.
Okay.
There's far too many businesses that are allowed to do anti-trust or unproductive means that aren't trying to better the overall product. They're just trying to crush competition.
Okay.
There should be way more unionization, especially for low-income, minimum-earning workers than there is. Mm-hmm. And the union-breaking laws that exist, which I don't like because they don't help anybody. Unions are not a bad thing. Despite what people keep trying to tell. Unions are a bad thing when they get too powerful and too corrupt, but so is government, so are businesses, so check yourself.
Yeah, what's the difference exactly?
Right? Like one's at least representing employees.
Mm-hmm.
And also paid leave, sick leave, and benefits could vastly improve.
Oh, yeah.
And benefits from the standpoint of that would be helpful to the company, which is one that I'm always like, why would you do this?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so actually, let's start right there. Let's start with the paid sick leave, okay? Because we can very easily tie that obviously into the whole COVID situation right now, and also the fact that the federal government has been trying to implement a paid sick leave within legislation. To do with COVID-19 and to do with, businesses getting certain benefits, whether it's things like the wage subsidy or things like, loans from the government to keep their business running, things like that. The federal government wants to implement paid sick leave. So I agree that paid sick leave should be mandated. Would you agree with that?
And the reason why it should be mandated is because, yes, businesses should do it. And even if you're capitalistic, employees do have the right to bargain their wages and things like that, but oftentimes employees don't have the power or unionization that's currently existing to bargain for that. Because if they had the unionization, they wouldn't have to make a legislation.
And really, I mean, I'm pretty sure there are studies out there that show the amount of productivity that is lost as a result of people that come to work sick, as opposed to when people can have paid sick days available where they can take, a day or two off of work to get better. Because the issue obviously that we see, and we have seen it again with the COVID-19 situation, that people come to work either feeling like they are fine to work, or again, because they're in a position that even though they're sick, they can't afford to take a day off work, and they come to work, and then not only are they less productive while they're there, but then they most certainly get other people sick, and then either those people don't come to work or they come to work and they're less productive when they're sick and they get other people sick, and the snowball continues, right?
And if specifically about that regulation, I would like to see certain aspects of it taken into consideration. Number one, it should be 10 days for the year, not for each job a person has, but for the year for a person. Okay. So if you work two different jobs, you still only get 10 for the year.
Okay.
Also, the year reset should be on your birthday as opposed to the calendar year, thereby eliminating the January flu season.
Okay.
That seems to always happen.
Right. Okay. the January flu season around New Year's Day.
Well, I mean, it's been like there. I don't need a study to tell me that when you have the ability to take emergency leave days and things like that, it all seems to happen on, and they reset it all at the same time. Everyone takes them at the same time.
Right.
It's not because I'm not trying to eliminate people doing that, taking them when they have them, because they will. That's human nature.
Right.
I'm trying to eliminate the effect on business.
Right. Okay.
So if everyone applies for it on their calendar year and like they use up their emergency days all within the first 3 months, well, it doesn't impact every business because everybody used them up in the first 3 months.
Right. Okay. Now so now you mentioned about the 10 sick days being per person and not per job. Something that the reason why I thought about this topic as something to discuss is the issue that we see where people are having to work multiple jobs because of the hours that they get the hours they're going to get at one job is not enough to sustain them. And so they need to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to make enough money to sustain even just a basic lifestyle, right? Like, we're not talking people going on lavish vacations and stuff like that. This is people, being able to afford their rent, being able to buy their groceries, being able to raise children, things like that. They're making enough to get by and barely have anything extra for anything else. So
the majority of the population that lives paycheck to paycheck, regardless of how much money they make.
That's true. That's very true. So my thought on this, and again, so to put a tie in with the whole COVID-19 situation, look at the situation in the long-term care homes and the fact that especially the PSW, those type workers, in some cases are working 2 or 3 jobs at 2 or 3 different homes, and is potentially one of the reasons why the spread of the virus between different long-term care homes in this country, very much so in this province and in the country, took off the way that it did, because it's not the elderly people that are in these homes that are going and visiting each other in other homes. I'm sure family obviously coming to visit could have passed it along, but it seems more likely than not that it's because of employees that got sick, went to work somewhere else and passed it in that way. So the thought that I had. And this is not necessarily like a hard and fast, this is what I think should happen, but this was the idea in my head. So legislation, regulation, whatever you want to call it, where every position that is offered, so every job that gets posted on a job bank or website or whatever, every position requires a minimum of 28 hours a week, unless the employee signs some sort of agreement waiver with the employer stating that they are willing to work less hours. Because some people will take a job and not necessarily want to work 28 hours. But I feel like, especially since, for as long as I can remember, 28 hours is kind of the line that delineates part-time and full-time work. And my feeling is that, even if it is a minimum wage job, a person should be guaranteed to be able to take a job that is at least that 28 hours, that delineating line between part-time and full-time.
In an ideal world, it wouldn't work practically. And I look at it from a workforce analyst standpoint. I'm not saying in retirement. Retirement homes are different ballgame. It very much have to be case-on-case basis, and as soon as you get to case-by-case basis, then the more levels that you have to run the gauntlet through, the harder it becomes and the more errors and things like that. So it sounds good, but it wouldn't work in any practical purpose, because if you have a business that requires people to be there during certain times and not during other times, where you have off-peak, on-peak times.
Okay.
Let's say you're running a drive-in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can't guarantee 28 hours for anybody.
So that's a situation where you can't say that employer is exempt, but that employer can provide as a part of their contract. Well, no, I guess that goes against what I'm saying too, because I'm saying that the employee has to say, yes, I'm willing to take less hours. Because I'm saying that the control should be in the employee's hands more so than the employer's hands. Okay, so I see. I guess you're right. It doesn't work across the board. Absolutely.
And that's a problem. Unless it's simple. As soon as you make it complicated, it's a waste of resources.
Okay.
You could maybe mandate that, if you have consistency in certain hours, that you should have X number of full-time employees. Yes. But to say that everybody has to have a certain number of hours, no, because it just doesn't work.
Okay.
But I mean, really, other than on a piece of paper, part-time or full-time means nothing. It doesn't make any difference as far as how benefits or anything like that. It's only per company. It doesn't matter.
Well, right. Again, my point of view on that, when I was thinking about that argument, that standpoint was, again, these people that, if you are taking two or having to take 2 or 3 jobs in order to make ends meet, and then the problem you always have is, okay, I've got these 3 jobs, and unless all 3 employers are willing to play ball and allow me to juggle my schedule based on, well, this place wants me to work on these days, and this place wants me to work on these days, and this place wants me to work on these days, and all 3 of them are like, okay, yeah, no problem, we'll make it work. Like that happens, but that's probably not the norm.
It depends. Some places are, some places aren't. A lot of places, and I'll compare it to franchise organizations, right? Usually, small businesses, they're usually more accommodating because you're talking directly to the owner, right?
Okay.
So I find small businesses are the most flexible.
Oh yeah.
And also the most reasonable too.
Yeah, for sure.
They can't pay the best benefits. However, if you look at big businesses, oftentimes they just say, "When are you available?
Okay.
Do you meet these requirements? Are you available for our required times?
Mm-hmm.
If you are, you accept the job. If you're not, you can't."
Right.
And then once you get tenure, you can say sometimes, well, hey, I've been here for long enough. Now I know what I'm doing more. I need to have these days off. Is this okay? And they either say yes or no. I don't like the trend towards going to more part-time.
Which has been happening for a long time.
Which has been happening for a long time. And it's because they know that they can get away with it.
Well, it's not only
but that's more to do with lack of needs,
right?
And anything else.
And it's not even the trend towards part-time. It's also the trend towards almost understaffing, right? Like, I mean, I worked at Walmart when I was in high school. I remember that the store was well staffed. Like, almost every day, every department had somebody. Right? It wasn't like it wasn't like it seems to be now, where the whole fashion department is covered by one person. One person will cover sports and hardware and housewares and whatever. Right? Like when I was working those kinds of jobs, there was a person in toys. There was multiple people in electronics, obviously, because it's electronics. But even that, it's like your most valuable department in the store. You used to have like 4 people in it at a time because you were making sure that people didn't steal anything. Now you go there and it's like, is there 1 person? Maybe 2? It's the problem of not only is it going to more part-time work, but it's more part-time work and less positions.
It's the nature of the beast of the changing nature of stores. There's a certain amount of, we need to put people onto the shelves, but how much do we need to have a presence? And the reality is that a lot of times you don't need the presence. You don't need somebody there all the time babysitting the places, because a lot of people are just finding out the information they need to elsewhere. Like, they don't need to go to the store to figure out shoes. So that's a big shift for me, and it's a lot of shift for a lot of people, that they're not doing the research, whereas they're using a store like Walmart just to buy the things they need. They know what they want, so they don't have to do anything.
They're not doing they're not doing the research there. They're just going to buy it, right?
Yeah, that's the big difference, and that's been a big shift. And right. I mean, Walmart's trying to save as much money as possible, because that's what Walmart does. I've said this for a while. Walmart is literally a money-making factory.
Right.
Any way that they can make money, they will.
Yep. Yeah, and part of that obviously is if you've got less staff. I mean, the joke obviously. Pre-COVID, but they've got 30 cash registers and only 4 of them are open, right?
Oh yeah, it was always the way. And even after COVID, it's the same thing. It's not going to change.
No, not like it used to be. And you're right. I mean, online shopping has certainly done
changed
that
it.
And changed
it's
it.
Just
and
changed it.
And again, right. and you're right. So that does cause the issue with whether you to try and mandate hours. It's like, well, would a store potentially just decide, well, now this store isn't profitable enough if we have to give everybody at least so many hours a week, so instead we're going to close the store, right? And that just makes it
a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? You can regulate it. The problem is the regulations get bogged in. As soon as you try, and then you have to try and figure out how many stores and each thing. It's just like, oh man, I wouldn't even want to begin to think about that.
Right.
And how would you keep up to date with that? Yeah, it's good in theory, terrible in practice.
So let's go. Okay, let's talk about the union. Let's talk about the union situation then, because I mean, I know you sound as though you're pretty supportive of unions. I feel like I'm pretty supportive of unions as well. I mean, to a point, right?
I'm supportive of unions to a certain level,
right?
Like why are casinos going unionized? They're becoming unions because they're losing their jobs. But I'm like, that's the wrong time to have a union.
Right.
The right time to have a union is when you have money, not when you don't.
Right.
Those jobs are going away whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find other ways to cut the cost. And the reality is they won't cut the cost where you like them.
Right.
And if you guys go out on strike, like, oh, you can threaten a strike. I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to get the support.
If you don't have the leverage, it's not the same.
Right? Like you're striking because you're losing your job because the money's not coming in. Boo-hoo.
That's capitalism, baby.
Right? Like, sorry, and that's very much my attitude towards it, right?
Right.
And that I was in favor of the teacher strike.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm anti-union strikes.
Right.
It's just, why are you striking? You're striking because you're losing jobs?
Yeah.
Because the business isn't there? Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, and I mean, if you look just quickly at the teacher strike here in Ontario, right? I mean, there were some people that were trying to say, oh, they're just striking because there's teachers that are going to lose their jobs because of the change to the size of classes, and it's like you're not even scraping the surface of what the strike is about. Okay, another thing that came to mind, and maybe this will be the last one that I would cover: minimum wage. Not necessarily that I'm against minimum wage, because obviously to say, well, we shouldn't have a minimum wage, it could very easily become a race to the bottom. But I'm of the mindset that there should not be separate minimum wages for different industries.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Everything should be blanketed.
Yeah.
I don't like differential things.
Yeah.
Like why do we do why
Well,
I get why they do it for students.
Right.
I disagree with it 100%, but I get the theory behind it. I never understood why they did it.
Right.
Well, we're going to pay the students less so they have an opportunity. I'm like, guess what? If you're going to hire students because you need to hire them.
Yeah.
To hear fast food industries whine and complain about the fact that, if we hire kids, they don't work as well as adults. I'm like, okay. So what's your point?
So let's
hire the adults.
Yeah, hire the adults. So let's penalize the students before they can even show us whether they will work the same as adults.
You penalize both.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that that's the equation that they don't get, is that you're penalizing both for the profits of the company.
Right.
Like if the fast food industry came to me and said, hey, we're losing money, we need this. Fine. But they're not losing money.
No. Oh no. Even right now, I mean, the fast food industry is not losing money right now. I mean, are they doing less revenue? Maybe, but you know what? They're going to survive this.
Yeah, they'll survive fine. So, Crimea River, yeah, the whole idea that because they're young, well, okay, so you're going to hire more young people, which you were anyway, right? Like, because so many people got their first job as a fast food employee. So don't start with me there. And if you weren't going to hire that young person, then you're going to hire an adult. The adult probably needs it more than the young person does.
Right.
So don't start with me there either. Because at 18, I didn't need money. When I was 18, I had so much money I didn't know what to do with.
Well, lucky you.
And I wish I wasn't being serious, but I remember going around to school in my senior year with like $400 in my wallet.
Right.
Going, I don't know what I'm going to spend this on. Because I had nothing to spend it on.
But yeah, exactly.
Literally nothing. But I had everything that I wanted. So what else was I going to spend it on? Like I literally had nothing to spend it on.
Yeah.
So why should that person, that young kid, get the money over somebody who's trying to make ends meet? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Like I look at when I was at Walmart, it was the year 2000. Back in the year 2000, minimum wage was $6.85, and I was making $7.10. Right, so it's like I wasn't making much more than minimum wage either. And Walmart's not like that anymore. I don't think they do that whole we pay just a little above minimum wage to show that we're a better employer. I don't think they do that anymore, because now that minimum wage is at $14 an hour, they're like, oh, we can't make any money, and it's like, really? You're still making record profits every year. You're still able to pay your shareholders. You're still able to pay your CEO millions of dollars every year. You're still able to pay the managers in the stores hundreds of thousands of dollars between salaries and stock options. You can pay the employees more than $14 an hour.
or you're not a good business model. Like, that's my attitude towards it. That's why once you reach a certain level of employees should automatically have the option to get into a union.
Especially when you consider the fact that a lot of those large business, like big box stores, rely on customers that are in that socioeconomic status, in a similar socioeconomic status to the people that work there. And so wouldn't you think that they should pay them more? Because they'll have more. I know they don't have to, exactly, but you would think, hey, if we pay them more, they'll spend more money here.
No, that's not. No,
I know,
no,
I know.
Because it doesn't work that way. Because people will not necessarily go that direction. They'll go other ways.
Right.
What they figured out and what they push for is they push for anti-union laws.
Right.
Laws that they can bust up. Laws where, if a Walmart store goes in and gets a union, they can close that Walmart store and open one across the street and be like, haha, that's a new brand new store. Your union doesn't apply.
Right.
Really? That's something that can happen? Yeah, of course it can happen.
Yeah.
How is that a thing?
Yeah, I know. Now, you said something when we were recording another episode before. You said something about how businesses with more than 50 employees should require a union. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, require it. Not, let's pretend, hey, maybe make them all part of the minimum wage union,
right?
Or whatever.
Okay.
If a company wants to opt out of that union, they have to pay their employees X above that union, above the minimum. And then you've all of a sudden now increased it, right? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to allow small businesses to take advantage of a different scale for like minimum wage is what it will end up being.
Okay.
Right. So let's say, you have to pay their employees $1 more. Well, that might be the cost difference between you going unionized or not.
Right. Okay. It doesn't cost, I don't think it costs the employer that much more to have a union in that kind of a situation, especially with that many employees.
Yeah. Like where it's going to cost them is they're going to have to start paying benefits.
Right.
Oh, when?
Yeah. That's unfortunate, isn't it?
Right. And like everyone's saying, well, then it'll bring up prices. Okay. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm okay with me having to spend more money if it means that you force a company in general to rethink what their business model is and whether it's profitable. So some companies may leave. But the reality is that market that was there, that was overrun. So let's say, for instance, and I'm going to use McDonald's because McDonald's will not leave, but let's pretend that you brought in unions and McDonald's like, okay, we're out. Well, that means somebody else is going to come in and service that fast food industry model. And that might be a local business this time, as opposed to a big business. I'm all for that. Because a big business doesn't play on the same playing field as a small business.
Right.
They don't. Because they have more resources. They have more resources coming in. And the only way to level it, you have to level a playing field from the start. If the playing field's not level from the start, like you're not going to unionize 20 or 10 employees.
Right.
Why? Because the 10 employees could just go to the manager and be like, why are you not paying us enough?
Right.
And the manager would be like, okay, I guess I'm not. So, because big box stores isn't that they don't benefit the average person. They do benefit the average person. They just hurt the low income because the low income people are the ones that are getting those jobs. Yeah,
exactly. And again, to me, that's where it goes back to the hours and I guess as well even the minimum wage. Like, I mean, looking at minimum wage here in Ontario, it's $14 an hour. Out in Alberta, it's $15 an hour. Although in Alberta, it sounds like they've been talking about cutting the minimum wage down from $15 an hour because they're saying that the current government is saying that it was a mistake. But whatever. In Ontario, I think we have the second highest minimum wage in the country. But the question kind of becomes, is $14 an hour fair, or is it enough for the kind of people that that take those jobs?
It's difficult to say because there's a tipping point where if you raise the minimum wage too much, it hurts you. It's supposed to help you. Now, when they said that, we raised the minimum wage, it's going to cut all these jobs. Guess what didn't happen?
No, exactly.
Right? Like when people say, oh, it's going to cut all these jobs, those are people that are fascist that think that businesses should make all the money.
Right.
Not capitalistic. Capitalistic says that, an employee should try to make as much money as he possibly can wherever he can. But the reality is that that's not how people work.
Mm-hmm.
A person's not going to go, hey, I can flip burgers at a rate 3 times that this person can pay, so you're going to pay me 3 times, or I'm going to go to this other store. That's not how that works, right? Mm-hmm. Ideally, it would work that way, and that would be perfect capitalism.
Right.
But it doesn't work that way. So if I'm faster at this job, they're not going to pay me more necessarily.
Right. Now, my thought on the minimum wage is I feel like it could be, again, legislated that the minimum wage increases based on whether it's inflation, consumer price index, or something like that every year. That you could say, okay, for such and such a year, because inflation was 1.6%, starting effective, whatever day every year, same day every year, a minimum wage is going to go up by whatever that percentage is. Now, obviously, again, in a situation we're in right now, chances are there's not going to be inflation in this year. There's a good chance that there might be deflation, but either way, like I almost feel like maybe there should be something in place like that, because if minimum wage stays where it is, like it did for a long time in the late 90s and early 2000s, where it was fixed for a number of years, it again becomes that it's the issue of buying power. Money loses buying power every year. So again, that gets even worse for the people essentially at the bottom rung.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I mean,
that's worthwhile.
Because if you go,
and you can make the argument that if there's a deflation, you should lower it, and I wouldn't have any problems with doing it that way as well.
Right,
it's tied to something.
Yeah, and because looking at it like that, if you start at $14 an hour, like right now, it takes 4 years at a 2% inflation rate to get to $15. Right?
Yeah.
4 years to earn $1, assuming you don't get a raise in those 4 years, but 4 years to earn $1. Or a little over $1. That's I don't know. I don't think that's that bad.
No, it's not unreasonable, and I think it would be a good way of keeping a lot of things in check. And if you ever got a really high inflation, where it definitely hurts the bottom rungs, or even a deflation where it can definitely hurt businesses, both should be provided. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
I can easily see that being done.
All right. Well, that was all I wanted to cover for today. In regards to this topic, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Not really.
All right. Well, so this has been, I guess, suggestions, recommendations as it pertains to employment, and not necessarily just in Ontario or just in Canada or whatever. I mean, this is something that could be a broad range topic in many countries, right? So, but obviously,
Sweden has a similar approach.
Right.
Sweden has a lot of unions. Sweden has a high minimum wage, and they're doing fine.
Right.
So don't tell me it can't work.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Employment. Good. There's no good or bad. Good. Employment good.
Good idea.
That's right. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.